Y'all, the plot gets crazy in ways I didn't even think were gonna get crazy. So buckle up. If you didn't already buckle up, I want you to buckle up. If you already buckled up, I want you to get another buckle from the back seat, pull it to the front, and buckle up again because it's about to get crazy. Crazier! Hey guys, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, that's kind of weird. Why haven't you subscribed yet so we can become besties? Everybody here knows that the moment you hit that subscribe button, we automatically become besties. Like, this is literally a visual representation of what we would be the moment you hit that subscribe button. But it's okay. It is okay. I'm a very, very patient person, so I'll wait. And while you're there, you might as well follow my Instagram. Hello! Anyways, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the short series K-drama that recently just wrapped up. Like, it literally wrapped up just yesterday, making a video today. And that drama is, you read the title, it's S-Line. I'm just going to be giving a little synopsis about the story for people who don't know, and if you're interested in watching the story, then you can go watch it. But if you're afraid about spoilers or anything like that, I will give you a warning that after that overview, we're diving straight into whatever this story was, okay? Guys, bear with me. If you're looking for a crazy drama, a crazy mature drama where things are just happening left and right and it's just keeping you on your toes, I would say go watch the video, but like, watch it at your own discretion. If you don't feel like spending 6 hours watching that show because you feel like it's gonna be a waste of time, then definitely stick around and watch this video because it gets crazy real fast. And with that being said, let's just get right into the video, shall we? This story basically follows this concept of S-lines. And these S-lines are basically these red lines that stick out of people's heads that connect you to whoever you've been physically intimate with. And this basically introduces us to our female lead. I think her name is Hyungo or something like that. Not good with names, so I'm barely even gonna be mentioning names in this video. And she has been able to see these red lines above people's heads since birth. The other major character in the story is a detective named Jiok, and he basically is trying to solve cases, not specifically pertaining to the S-line in general, but obviously because of the plot of the story, the S-lines become involved in this entire fiasco. The thing that this entire plot basically centers itself around is the fact that the female lead, who we thought was the only person to be able to see S-lines, ends up discovering that a pair of glasses that whoever puts on gives them the ability to see the very same S-lines she's been able to see since birth. Honestly, under normal circumstances, I don't think I would have picked up a drama like this just because detective type dramas, me and them kind of have beef because they never go the way I want them to. But I picked this story up specifically because my baby daddy was in it. If you guys have been here for even 0.5 seconds, you would know that my baby daddy is... Let me stop. I heard Korea's a little crazy with their defamation. When I first heard of the plot of this story, I really didn't think it was gonna be that good, but I had nothing to watch, so I was just like, okay, let's go into it. But I was really happy with the way that the story started off. This is a short series. There's only 6 episodes, and K-dramas typically release 2 episodes a week. So every single week when I went into it, kind of felt like it was its own season because each episode kind of has its own plot line that it goes through. So even though the plot was moving towards a bigger idea in general, every episode still felt different to me. With that being said, I want to say that if you're looking for a mature story with a unique plot that you haven't really heard of before, I do recommend that you go watch this. Don't let what I'm about to say, yes, don't let what I'm about to say deter you from this story because I think there's a lot of goodness in this story, but you will see my opinions about this story as we continue because it gets crazy. All I want to say is that it gets crazy, so you guys need to stick around, watch to the end, because every single time you think that you're trying to understand what's happening, I promise you don't understand what's happening. That's it for the overview. Now we're just gonna go into my review about the episodes, what I had to say about it, how I thought about it, and basically the craziness that was going on in this drama. S-line. Okay, boom. Episode 1. This is where we get introduced to our female lead, Hyungo. And it basically tells a story about how she's lived her life up until this point. And it also introduces us, the viewers, to the concept of S-lines in the first place. You can see that this girl is deeply troubled, alright? Right from the get-go. She's not living too hot. She's not living too well. And literally everybody in her apartment complex sees her and knows her as a shut-in. Like, if you ask somebody, they're like, that girl don't leave her house. Like, people literally drop things off for her because she does not leave the house. And other people have to, like, take her trash out because she will not take the trash out on her own. However, she obviously does have a reason for this, and that reason being that when she was younger and she was able to see the S-lines and she didn't think that it was anything unnatural, she ended up revealing to her mother through a drawing that her father, basically her mother's husband, was having an affair with the mother's sister, of whom she was very close with. So obviously the mother felt betrayed and she was like, he gotta go, he got to go. Husband's gone, okay? Because of this, the female lead felt very guilty and she felt very depressed about the situation because she felt like it was her fault that her family ended up being destroyed, and she felt like it was her fault that her father got murdered. After this, her mother runs away and she's nowhere to be found, and we don't really know what happens in between the point where her mother runs away and when our female lead actually grows up. All we know is that she's alone and she's basically fending for herself all the time. Shortly after our female lead and this concept of S-lines are introduced, we get introduced to our male lead, Gio, who's a detective. And I say male lead as in he's just a male lead. There's nothing romantic going on here because we later find out that our female lead is in high school and this detective is grown, okay? He's grown. Like, nothing's happening there. He just so happens to be the male lead. We also see that this male lead has a niece that he deeply cares about, but he doesn't know that she's getting bullied at school. Because you know how Korea be with their bullying plot lines. Everybody's getting bullied. Like, I need y'all to fight back or something, because why is everybody getting bullied in the most horrendous ways possible? Like, it's never chill. It's never chill. They're always doing entirely too much. And it's just like, how do you not know? You're a detective, but you don't know that your niece is getting bullied. I'm questioning your job capabilities. But the way this drama tells its story is kind of like the whole shifting perspective thing. So you kind of just have to keep up with what's happening all at the same time, because one person will be talking here and then they flash forward to another person and then they move back to another person. So you get all these different perspectives that are all happening at the same time. So it's just like, keep up. You gotta keep up. For instance, like while all these characters are being introduced, we just randomly find out that the male lead's father is also in the hospital and he's got some mental psychotic stuff going on. And then they just kind of drop that information on you and then they move on and you're expected to move with them. Keep up, girl. If you stop running, everybody's gonna run past you. So you gotta just kind of keep up with the story. But obviously episodes are made with a purpose, and the purpose of this episode is to get the female lead out of her house. She's been in there for too long and the story can't progress if she stays there. So this is exactly how they do it. There was a lady who recently moved into the area who's been dropping treats off for our female lead. And because of this creates a connection between the two of them. But because the female lead can see these S lines above people's heads, she's able to tell that this neighbor that just moved in is in danger, and she's able to make this connection because of the S lines, you know? And obviously nobody else will believe her if she's just like, hey y'all, she's in danger because I know who he's been fucking, and he's been fucking her. And I just noticed that the other day that he pulled up with the same amount of S lines and he got the same helmet on as the same other guy, but like, trust me, go get that guy. Did that make sense? Obviously it don't make sense. But obviously our female lead now has this attachment towards this neighbor because this neighbor has been kind to her and she feels like it's her responsibility to help her neighbor. And knowing this person's life's at risk, our female lead finally gets the courage to step out of her house with our male lead detective swooping in to do the final touches and getting rid of the guy completely. Obviously seeing how her ability to see S lines can actually do good instead of only do bad, this gives our female lead this newfound purpose and this newfound confidence within herself, because now she sees that this ability can actually help people instead of harming people who are around her. But the plot thickens because we find out that the man who was trying to harm her neighbor actually ended up doing so because he had a pair of glasses that helped him see the very same S lines that our female lead sees. But the people who take on these glasses to see these S lines end up with a more psychotic approach. They're not normal. Yeah, they're not normal like our female lead. I can't really call our female lead normal because, again, she's gone through some stuff like that would mess anybody up, okay? She's not the most normal person in the world, but she's definitely not as psychotic as these people. And y'all, when I tell y'all they get worse, I'm telling y'all they get worse. So stay with me because this is gonna be a long ride. And all these people who get these S-line glasses take a more harmful approach to dealing with these lines because they automatically seem to want to get rid of these S-lines or make more S-lines appear. Like, it's always centered around S-lines. They can't just like take it for what it is and then just move on with their lives. They get deeply obsessed and deeply attached with these S lines. And boom, that leads us to episode 2. And the purpose of this episode is to basically put our female lead in a new setting to push the plot forward. That new setting ends up being school because, again, she was a shut-in. She didn't go to school. She didn't do anything like that for a long period of time. So after seeing how she was able to help people, she gets the confidence to go back out into society. And her place in society, yeah, she's a fucking kid. So she's going back to school. This also furthers the plot with the detective's niece because they obviously go to the same school for the sake of the plot, and they obviously knew each other in the past for the sake of the plot. And our female lead sees that the male lead's niece is getting bullied. Are you guys keeping up with me? I hope so. I hope you're not getting confused because it's gonna get even more confusing. But things get even more complicated when the niece who's getting bullied ends up finding the S-line glasses in her cubby. And when she puts these glasses on, this is when she sees that her bully and one of her male teachers are having an affair. And she's like, oh, y'all shouldn't have let me know that. Y'all should not have let me know that because y'all done fucked up. And then for some reason, like, she's walking and she sees her homeroom teacher and she sees that her homeroom teacher doesn't have any S lines above her head and she starts laughing and shit. I'm just like, okay, you're rude. And this is also where us as viewers see that the niece also has an S line of her own. And we're just kind of thrown off a little bit because it's just like, girl, I thought you were a loser. I thought that you were getting beat up. I thought that nobody liked you. Like, it was clear that she had been ostracized in the school for a long period of time. Again, you'll see something that is very apparent throughout this drama is that they don't give us much information. They just kind of tell you, hey, this is what's happening. And you just gotta be like, okay, I guess that's what's happening. But it's obvious that she's been bullied for a long time. So you just kind of wonder, like, where did she get this S line from? But then we just kind of move on, is whatever, we keep going. But anyways, our female lead ends up befriending the niece because she helps her deal with her bullies by almost throwing the bully off the cliff. Because I just want to remind y'all that, did I say this? Our female lead cannot die. Our female lead has tried to unalive herself multiple times but has failed every single time, and then that's when she finds out that she physically cannot pass away. Like, she's tried and she's not able to do it. Some other force gets into it and makes it so that she can't pass away no matter the method that she's trying to use. And because of this, she's able to scare off the niece's bully because she kind of throws the both of them off like the building, not actually off the building, but like she like leads off the building to the point where like a small gust of wind would have pushed them both down. And honestly, if it was me, shit, we going down Pookie, because the bully's unhinged. She's a weirdo. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. Not as bad as a Glory, but it's just like, if given enough power, she definitely would be. But obviously almost losing your life would shake somebody up a little bit, so the bully kind of backs off from the situation. At the same time, the male lead detective is also pushed into the setting of the school area because his investigations keep leading him back to school, and at the same time he wants to figure out what's going on with his niece because his niece obviously wasn't honest to him and she didn't tell him that she was being bullied at school. This is also where our male lead ends up meeting their homeroom teacher as well, where she gets introduced as this morally upright character who stands up for the students, because we see that the niece was getting bullied and the homeroom teacher stepped in and basically stopped the bullying from happening and even reported the bullying, but like obviously that went nowhere because that whole relationship the student had with the teacher who she was rolling around with. But basically, even though the male lead is now in the school setting, his investigation about his niece's like bullying kind of goes nowhere because all of a sudden the niece is popular now that she has these glasses, because she's confident, she's able to walk with confidence, she's able to move how she wants to move because she's like, I know all y'all dirty little secrets, like try me and I'll expose you type shit. So she's walking around and for some reason she gets popular overnight. Again, I'm telling y'all, like, they just tell you a plot and you just gotta soak it up and you just gotta nod your head and say okay, because at this point I'm scared to say no. So she's popular in the school now, everybody likes her, she's hanging around everybody, she's hanging around her old bully's friends and like the popular guy that she liked all overnight. And in that same overnightness, like the bully that she was getting bullied by loses her popularity, even though the niece hasn't even exposed anything yet. So I don't even know why the bully like ends up losing some of her aura. She doesn't lose all of it, obviously, but like you can tell she's not surrounded by people like she used to be, which again, I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, but let's just nod our heads and continue, I guess. But at the same time, the niece gets this bright idea. She's like, you know what? I'm ready to get the bag. I'm ready to secure the bag. She's like, I know a little secret y'all have going on here. I'm gonna blackmail you. So she basically tells the teacher that's having an affair with a student, and she basically tells him like, hey, meet me at the rooftop of the school and give me this much money, because if you don't, bitch, I'm ruining your life. And yeah, he obviously meets her up at the rooftop to give her the money. But the moment he's there, the moment he's getting ready to tell her the information that she needs so she can get the money, he looks on his phone, ding, 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 ding. He picks up his phone. What does he see? An affair happening right in front of me. Y'all, that was off the dome. I want y'all to know that. He basically sees his affair blast on the internet for everybody to see, and the episode ends off with the niece falling off the building. Yeah. And it was just crazy for me because I could have sworn she was gonna be some major character in the plot. But like, I guess she is a major character because she was kind of like the whoosh that brought us into the school setting. But it's just like, I thought she was gonna be around for longer, but just, ooh, no, she just fell off the, oh, okay. What did I say? I need to listen to my own advice. They give us the plot, we just nod and say yes. That's where the episode ends, and it takes us into episode 3. In this episode, we find out that the niece is not actually dead. She's just deeply injured and passed out, which is really strange. It's really strange because this building is not no short 1-2-story building. This building is tall, y'all. Like, you could see that, like, it's tall, okay? How else can I say it? It's tall. It's tall. And when she falls down, it's not like she falls and hits her legs first or nothing. Like, you see that she, like, bangs her head against the floor after falling, like, 10 floors. It doesn't look like she has any other broken bones in the hospital. She got this one little wrap around her head. Like, they didn't even shave her hair to do any surgical stuff on the inside to stop her brain from, like, swelling and giving her swelling brain room to, like, air out or anything like that. No, she got this one tiny little band-aid on her head, and they're like, yeah, she's just unconscious, but she's good, y'all, don't worry, she'll be fine. And they're like, okay. This permanently puts the male lead in the setting of the school because now he has to prove that his niece did not commit slip and slide and actually was more of like a murder type situation. And he only thinks this because of information the female lead gave him. And the female lead didn't give him any information about the S-lines or anything like that, but she did basically say that like, hey, I kind of know her character a little bit, and I know that she's not the type that would just throw herself off a building, especially when she was about to get the bag. So I really think that you should intervene and kind of figure out what's going on here. In this scene, the glasses of course get a new host because they seem to get a new host every single episode, and we see that this host is now a teacher at their school. And this teacher recently just got out of a relationship because he found out that his partner was cheating on him. So he decides to, for the short term, move in with his sister, his brother-in-law, and their child, just for a short period of time. But while he's in the school setting, he ends up having a conversation with the other teachers, and they basically ask him, hey, how's your relationship going? What's going on? He's like, yeah, no, that's done. That's done. She cheated on me. I left that hoe, okay? Don't talk about the marriage no more because it's not happening. Everybody's just like, oh, who even brought up that question to begin with? Like, what? And later this ends up leading to conversation with this teacher and the homeroom teacher. And this teacher ends up asking the homeroom teacher, stay with me now. He ends up asking the homeroom teacher, he's just like, what would you do if somebody betrayed you or cheated on you? You know, that type of thing. And the homeroom teacher responds like, oh, I would completely mess up their lives. Like, no, they're gonna be sad they messed with me in the first place. And this basically gives a little ding 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 to the audience because we're just like, that was a little much. Like, same, but like for you to say like that, like she said it with a straight face, she was just like, wow, I would just like destroy their lives. Like, I would make their lives living hell. Like, they would think twice before messing with me again. It's just like, whoa, girl, calm down. Like, vibe, calm down a little bit. Like, I think you did a little too much. And this kind of makes you feel like, okay, I'm starting to think I know why you don't have any S lines above your head. But I digress and we move on. But because of the glasses that this teacher has, he ends up finding out that his brother-in-law is having an affair and he's cheating on his sister. And he's just like, oh my gosh, our bloodline can't have shit. Like, I literally just got cheated on, moved in with my sister to try to help them and see what's going on before I bounce out this bitch. And I found out that my sister is getting cheated on too. Like, damn, we cannot have shit. Anyways, while all of this is happening, we also get told that the teacher who was having an affair with the student, he ends up committing slip and slide in a car after being exposed to the world. And he's like, I'm so sorry, y'all, bye-bye. But back to this new teacher in the glasses. After much deliberation and contemplation, he decides like, yeah, no, I'm going to expose this affair because I was done dirty. And if I was in this situation, I want to know that my partner was cheating on me before I committed so much time and energy to him. And he's just like, oh my gosh, my poor sister. Like, I've seen her struggle in the house. She always looks so depressed and so moody and sad all the time. Like, how dare this guy cheat on her? He's never in the house. Like, this, that, and the third. Like, no, we gotta get rid of him. He gotta go. So he basically confronts his brother-in-law. He's like, you need to put an end to this affair because I'm not having it, and if you don't put an end to this, I'm gonna go ahead and tell the person you're cheating on that you're cheating. But what ends up being the big plot twist of this episode was that the brother-in-law wasn't cheating on the teacher's sister. He was cheating with the teacher's sister. So the teacher's sister actually ended up being the affair partner, and he ended up cutting things off with her. And she ends up getting triggered and absolutely going crazy because she was just like, my bad, my bad, my bad. And she blames the teacher who has the glasses. She's just like, why would you tell him to break things off? Like, why would you do that to me? And she's like crashing out. And I'm like, girl, stand up, stand up. Another thing they don't really talk about, maybe they did and I just didn't even get to it, but like, whose child is that? I'm so confused. Again, another question that they don't answer. They're just like, this is the situation and you just have to move forward. And again, I'm just gonna nod for the sake of the plot and we're just gonna move forward. Anyways, I really like this episode because after the first two episodes, it was getting a little repetitive. I was just like, okay, is every episode just gonna be how people are cheating and stuff like that? Which technically, I guess that is what this story is, but like this one kind of added more depth to it because I was just like, oh, you're not just showing us your typical relationship. You're showing us an affair type of situation that's outside of the stereotype. And what I mean by that is, as you guys will see with the visuals that I'm hopefully putting up on the screen for you guys, this teacher who had the glasses, his sister, is not your typical affair partner. She's more of a natural beauty, while like most of the times when people are cheating, they go for that gentle, kind, flirty, Instagram face type of feeling and vibe to them. But you see that it's actually the complete opposite in this situation. And I was just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Writers, you kind of ate with that. And it just kind of reminded me of this podcast that Stephanie Sue did. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably know who Stephanie Sue is, but she basically does podcasts about a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things that she talked about was the situation where they were talking about affair partners and how like the affair partner isn't always going to be your typical person. And they have this picture with like two people, and it was like one of them was your stereotypical beautiful lady and the other one was more of like your mother-like, strict-like figure. And they basically ask, who do you think the man is cheating with? And it's just like, of course, all of us are going to think it's the younger, kinder, more gentle lady, but like in reality, it's like, why didn't you think it was the other lady? You get what I'm saying? Anyways, this episode basically concludes with the male lead being fully convinced that his niece actually did not commit slip and slide, but was rather harmed on purpose. And the reason why he suddenly fully believes this rather than just being skeptical is because he's like, wait a minute, there was no slip and slide note, so I don't think she actually did that. This leads to him running to the female lead to ask for more information, and this is where our female lead finally tells our male lead about the whole S-line glasses situation. And that's where our episode ends, leading us to episode 4. This episode basically cements the fact that our female lead has finally found her place in society. Well, not really found her place, but she's getting more comfortable in it, and they kind of show this by basically showing her friend group in general, because she has a consistent group of 2 people that she hangs out with all the time. So it's just like, yay for our female lead, because 2 episodes ago she was a shut-in, and now she has her own group of friends that hang out all the time. How long they've been best friends, I don't know. They don't give us any sense of time in this drama, and a lot of things are just happening really fast and relationships are being made really fast. But again, for the sake of the plot, let's just keep moving and accept the fact that she now has herself an established friend group. And then that's where we get introduced to the next host of these glasses, which is another goddamn teacher at this school. I don't know what's going on in this school, what's happening, but the glasses seem to like to stay here. Anyway, she's your typical like loner, kind of shy, kind of down kind of character that these glasses tend to like lean towards. She's basically being like looked down upon by the other people. She gets yelled at work all the time. Her life isn't the best. And worst of all, she really wants to be an actress, but everybody kind of like is looking down and making fun of her, or even more like pitying her, because they're like, ooh, Pookie baby bear. That ain't gonna happen. But we end up finding out that she has a crush on the new music teacher, who she's not really special in that regard, because everybody has a crush on this guy because apparently he's fine as shit. Meanwhile, our female lead still has no financial support system, so she ends up getting a job at a motel. This is where we again get reminded that nobody is normal in the school nor in the show, and we see the loner teacher go into the hotel all dressed up in cosplay, and she gets a room by herself. And y'all, like, do what you want to do. I'm not gonna judge you for what you want to do, but it's just like, when you see what she's doing in this room, it's just like, okay, baby. Okay, baby. Like, I just need you 2 seconds. Sit down, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in one more time, breathe out. One more time. And I need you to kind of think, is this normal? The answer is no. And if you didn't get to know, I need you to do the breathing exercises again until you get to the answer no, because what she's doing in this room is just not normal. But anyway, since the male lead is now more convinced about this idea of S-lines, he asks the female lead if his niece has an S-line, and she says, why would I tell you that? That's her private information, which basically confirms the fact that she has one. We also see that the female lead ended up developing a crush on the guy that she's in a friend group with, and they basically show this by them being quirky and jumping into a pool and stuff and swimming in the pool and like having fun and coming back out and then just like blinking and staring and batting their eyelashes at each other and giggling and rubbing their necks. And I'm just like, okay, at some point I guess this happened. Again, I don't know how long y'all have been friends for, but I guess this happened, and I guess it's mutual, because he's also just like, hee hee. And literally 2.5 seconds later, she starts fantasizing herself with an S line connecting herself to this man, and I'm just like, okay, can we calm down? Can we calm down? But again, I'm the problem, okay? Angela, you're the problem. The plot continues. They little freaky asses. Anyways, we flash back to the loner teacher in her room in her hotel, and it's heavily implied that she gets to a specific hotel for a specific reason. And that being that she likes to peep on other people in the next room over. It's not really confirmed, but like, it seems like she definitely knew that the hole was there, and she immediately went to go look at it once she noticed that the male music teacher ended up going into the hotel room. So she's all excited. She's off her rocker. She's being a weirdo as per usual, and she's staring into this hole. But then she sees something unexpected happening, and she sees a woman come into the room, and the woman and the music teacher are obviously going and getting their freak on. So even though at first she had her popcorn and she was munching on that, she was on her very tippy toes looking into this hole trying to see what's going on in there, her whole world completely crashes because she sees that the woman that he's getting his freak on with is a famous actress, and she completely crashes out. And low-key, I would kind of crash out too, a slight bit, because like, what do you mean I've been wanting to be a beautiful actress this entire time, and I wanted that man for, I can't even say the entire time. I don't know how long it's been. It's probably been like 3 days. Anyways, let's say I've been wanting this man for the longest time, and then you come in here, a famous actress, and you get all freaky with my man, the man I've wanted this entire time? Yeah, I would crash out too, but I wouldn't crash out the way that she crashed out. The way that she crashed out, she ended up waiting it out until they went to go meet up again, and then she hit the woman in the back of her head, knocking her out, dragging her into a room, placing her in that room, going into the room with the music teacher dressed in that actress's clothes, walking in. The guy is obviously like, who the hell are you and why are you wearing my Pookie's clothes? And she's just like, oh, who am I? I'm your lover. I have somebody who's loved you for the longest time. And he's like, oh, baby, you're weird. Baby, you're so weird. So he gets up to leave. Too bad he drank the water that she spiked. So he ends up falling over, hitting something in the bathroom and getting completely knocked out. And the lady comes dragging him to the bed, and she tries to get her freak on with the guy on the bed, but she sees that he slowly starts bleeding out in the back of his head. You know why? Because he hit himself on the bed in the bathroom before she dragged him to the bed. And then she gets all nervous and stuff because she's obsessed with seeing their S lines connected, and she starts going ham on this guy, y'all. She starts going ham. She starts going crazy to get this S line, but it doesn't end up showing up because he ends up dying, and people who are dead do not have S lines, and all the S lines that they've connected with end up going away. Did I mention that? Well, now you know. Anyways, she doesn't even get her S line. She done kidnapped and killed this guy and put another lady in another room. So now she done offed herself in the bathroom. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, that was a lot to take in. How do you think we felt? How do you think we felt? Because yes, Yes, that was definitely a lot to take in. Anyways, lo and behold, the male lead ends up going to investigate the scene. They don't see anything the first time, but he ends up coming back on his own, where he coincidentally ends up being the one with the glasses because he just so happened to come back to the scene by himself. And so he finally now has the S glasses, which I'm pretty sure a lot of us were anticipating up to this point, especially since the poster shows him with the S glasses on. Anyways, upon putting on these S glasses, something else that they want to point out again is that the homeroom teacher has no S lines. And we're like, okay, we get it, dang, the plot is thicker there. How many times do you have to point it out? But at this point, despite all the crazy things that were going on and things not being explained, I still thought that the plot was going strong, and I was just like, okay, all right, let's see how these last 2 episodes are gonna end off, because I was actually excited to see how it's gonna finish. Y'all, the plot gets crazy in ways I didn't even think were gonna get crazy. So buckle up. If you didn't already buckle up, I want you to buckle up. If you already buckled up, I want you to get another buckle from the back seat, pull it to the front, and buckle up again, because it's about to get crazy. Crazier! Because anyways, moving on to episode 5, we finally get the reality of the relationship between the niece and the male lead. And I already knew that the male lead was basically taking care of the niece, but I didn't know how much he had been taking care of the niece. He's more like a father figure rather than an uncle figure, because the niece's parents passed away very young. Anyways, moving on, shortly after the male lead puts on the glasses, we also get confirmation that the homeroom teacher is just like the female lead in the sense that she can see S lines without the use of glasses. And when I saw this scene, like, I had the biggest sense of validation ever. Not because I'm just like, oh my gosh, the homeroom teacher, there's something wrong with her. We obviously knew the plot was basically yelling at it in your face, telling you that there was something going on with her. She's also in the poster. So like, yeah, she was gonna have a bigger role than what they're letting on. And it's like, they always do this with shows where it's like, if you see a character being mentioned a lot, where it's just like, you shouldn't really be mentioned and you also have no purpose in this show, they're actually gonna end up having one of the biggest purposes in the show. This also ended up happening in Vincenzo. Y'all know how that went down. But the reason why I had the biggest sense of validation in this is because I could have sworn that every single time I see this teacher, every single time she talks to the male lead, she doesn't look him in the eyes right away. She like looks above, and y'all are gonna be like, oh, but you're crazy. Maybe so, okay? But like, I could have sworn like I was seeing her like look above people's heads, and I was like, I think she can see the S lines too. But literally every single time she would look up, I'll be like, where are you looking at? Like, Reggie? What's happening? But anyways, we get confirmation that she is in fact able to see these S lines. Later, the female lead finds out that the male lead has finally gotten a hold of these S glasses, and she tries breaking them right away, which I will give props for, because I was happy to see that. Because a lot of times in stories, you'll see the root of the problem right in front of you, and they'll be like, but we need this in order to solve the problem. And then the problem gets worse because they didn't destroy the root of the problem in the first place. So I do have to give credit where credit's due. Thank you, female lead, for at least trying. But she failed. The male lead keeps these glasses. Anyways, enough of the side stuff. Moving on to the main point of the story, there's basically a situation here that the detective, our male lead, is investigating, and this male lead is basically investigating an assault case. And I will give a little trigger warning. I'm not really gonna go in depth about it, but like, if you're very, very sensitive to this, I would suggest just skipping past this part. Anyways, long story short, she was put under influence and knocked out, and during the time she was knocked out, there's 4 different guys that ended up taking advantage of her. But there are 3 things that I do want to mention that I did appreciate in this story. One was the male lead automatically assuming that the victim was lying about her body count. And by that, I mean, when they pull her into the investigation room to basically get her side of the story, they ask her if she had ever been physically intimate with somebody before, and she says no, and the male lead is like, why are you lying? Because he can see 4 lines coming out of her head. The thing that's crazy though is that when she said no, I automatically came to the conclusion that like, OMG, like 4 people took advantage of her at the very same time, but the male lead automatically went with the idea that she was lying instead of the fact that she was taken advantage of by 4 guys. And I think that kind of brings in this nuanced point of view with women and men, and how women and men tend to deal with these kinds of situations, because I like how they brought a male lead who tends to be on the morally right side of things. I like how they showed that even that type of person can still victim blame in a situation, and how he automatically had his suspicions about her even though literally nothing was her fault in the situation. He didn't blame her for what happened, but he also didn't fully believe her, when I feel like in those situations it's important to believe the victim and everything that they're saying for the most part, unless proven otherwise. 2, I really liked how they talked about how her getting rid of the evidence actually did a disservice to her, because when everything happened, like, she obviously got home and she was just like, oh my gosh, what happened? And she just like threw everything into the washer because she was trying to get rid of that icky feeling. But in the very same moment, it's like, now you just got rid of all the evidence that you could have used against these guys. And I like how they pointed that out as well to whoever's watching to keep in mind. And 3, what I really, really respect about this situation, well, not respect about the situation, but like how they handled the situation in general, was the fact that they made the mastermind an idol. And the reason why I want to say this is because a lot of people need to understand that unless you can mutually contact another person, you probably don't know a person enough to know their character. And I hate to say it, but a lot of your faves are very much dangerous and very much in a position of power where they can get away with the dangerous things that they do. And I know you might be thinking, not my fave, not my fave. Yes, your fave. And actually, especially your fave. Just keep that in mind, y'all, and stay safe. Don't be parasocial. Anyways, after the male lead kind of wraps that whole situation up, he gets a call from the hospital that his father is missing. So he rushes to the hospital to see what's going on. He pulls up and he's like, how could you let him go missing? He's yelling at them. They're like, hold on. I think you need to see this. They pull him around the corner. He's looking up on the camera. He sees that the homeroom teacher done stole his pappy. The homeroom teacher done stole his pappy. So it's like, now we already knew that the homeroom teacher could see S-lines, but now we also see that she's taking more of a villain role in this whole entire situation rather than a more nuanced or more like morally neutral role that our female lead takes. But then it gets even worse because now after she done kidnapped his pappy, she sends him a photo of his niece in the hospital and she's basically threatening him with both of them, saying, hey, basically get to the hospital right now. So what does he do? He gets up and he goes to the hospital, duh. And now that the male lead can see the S-line, he pulls up to the hospital with the glasses for the very first time. And for the very first time, he sees that his niece's S-line is tilting. And y'all, I'm not gonna hold y'all for 0.25 seconds. My heart dropped because I was just like, did the male lead? But then I was just like, no, that don't make no fucking sense. And I like scrapped that out of my head. But what I thought was funny was that like right afterwards, like the male lead pulls out a gun the moment he sees her S-line tilt. And I just thought that was so funny because like, what do you mean there's somebody around here and y'all's fucking my niece? Like, he pulls out that gun and immediately he don't play. And he hears his father's groans from outside the room. And at this point, I'm sure we're all thinking, yeah, I'm sure we all know at this point that his niece's S-line is actually from the male lead's father. AKA the niece was assaulted by her grandpa. Yup. So now I'm thinking in my head, why didn't the gun go off, you know? But no, the male lead was obviously frustrated, but at the same time, he couldn't really do anything about the situation because he was a cop or something like that. It's just like, you know you want to, but you can't. It's just one of those situations. Anyways, what I really appreciate about this episode was that the niece's line was actively called into question throughout the entire series, but it was kind of brushed off every single time. It was just like, hey, does she have an S-line? And then her actually seeing her own S-line afterwards, and then the uncle asking about it. And then there's also this point in the story where it's like the female lead and the popular guy, they go somewhere and they start making out. They almost go all the way, but she actually ends up stopping him right before they do. So it's just like, oh, okay. Now you also know that there's a reason why. Not that there necessarily has to be a reason why, but you guys know what I'm saying. I like how they kind of kept that consistent with the plot before giving us the plot twist that it was actually her grandfather who ended up being the cause of her S-line. And it was honestly a plot twist that I wasn't expecting until like literally the moment right before it happened where I kind of put the lines all together. So I did appreciate them still dropping plot twists this deep into the story. Anyways, the episode ends with the female lead with blood all over her hands and she's calling the detective like, help. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this story? Like, I don't know what's happening anymore, but that takes us to our final episode 6, where things just go even crazier. Anyways, instead of starting off with the female lead who has blood all over her hands, we instead get another person who's obviously going to be another host for the glasses. What ends up happening in this situation is that her video is leaked by her ex. And I just want to say something, like, I feel like videos should not be able to have as much power as they do in society, because all y'all be fucking, okay? Especially if you're in late university like this host was, like, most of y'all be fucking, all y'all be fucking. I'm not fucking. So I don't get why when somebody's video gets leaked, y'all decide to destroy their lives or y'all decide to make fun of them. And obviously we're all human, the conversation will be brought up, but I feel like the most you should have about a conversation about somebody else's video should be no longer than 10 seconds. And in those 10 seconds that you're talking about, you need to be like, oh my gosh, the person who leaked that video is so fucked up. Like, what the fuck is their problem? Like, that's a piece of shit. Like, they're a piece of trash. Like, that should be the conversation. Y'all should move on and then people should forget about the video. I hate the idea of videos being leaked ruining people's lives, because all y'all know what y'all be doing when the lights are off. Anyways, this new host of the glasses basically gives us the confirmation that the homeroom teacher is the one passing out all these classes to all these people and making them see all these S-lines. But that basically gets dropped on us and we get flashed back to a situation before the end of episode 5 where the female lead ends up asking the male lead out to a hotel because it's basically a continuation of a tiny little sliver that they gave us earlier, and they're just kind of moving on with that plot now. And she's just like, hey, I want you. You could say no, but I want you and I want you to want me. And she and her crush decide to do the little boombaya, a little woohoo if we want to speak in Sims terms. And y'all, she been fantasizing about this dick for weeks. She been dreaming about this shit for weeks. She was not letting go of that. She needed that. They was happy as hell after too, them little freaky freaks. But there's a small scene afterwards after they leave the hotel and they're all happy in like their new relationship or whatever, where she goes outside and she sees all the S lines in the air and she kind of sighs a little bit, which makes me feel like she thought that after she did the boombaya, she wouldn't have to see the S lines anymore. But since that day was her birthday, forgot to tell y'all, but it was her birthday, he was like, oh my gosh, let me go get you a cake. And then he dies. Y'all, I can't make this shit up. I cannot make this shit up. Like, accident, like pillars go through his neck. It's not even like he slipped on a banana and fell. Like, no, like a whole pile of junk fell on him and just killed him instantly. Our female lead runs over there. She's just like, oh my gosh. And she's like touching up on all the blood. And now we know why she has blood on her hands at the end of episode 5. And she's just like, oh my gosh. And then that's when we're basically told that like apparently every single person that she's close to dies. And I guess like, and of course you can be close to friends like platonically and then they just only get harmed. But like if you're being like physically intimate, I guess society and most people consider physical intimacy being like the closest type of relationship you can have. So I guess anybody she's physically intimate with automatically dies, I guess. That's what they're trying to say. Yeah, I think so, right? But on her birthday is kind of crazy. Anyways, if that wasn't bad enough, she gets a ding 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 text. She looks at her phone. Her friend is kidnapped and in the school. So now this takes us back to the scene where she has blood all over her hands and she's calling the detective like, detective, I need help, I need help. So she and this detective run over to the scene, which is the school, to figure out what's going on with her friend. But right when I thought I was understanding this plot, they insinuate the fact that it's not actually some sort of supernatural force that's just kind of getting rid of all the people that she's close to, but rather somebody who's specifically like making sure to get rid of all the relationships and all the people that she's close to for some bigger purpose or something. Stay with me, y'all. Stay with me because I'm not even staying with me anymore. And then, as if I wasn't already confused and barely getting the hang of this plot once more, once again, they decide to flip some shit on us because now apparently the female lead and her friend and the male lead detective that she just came with are in 2 different dimensions. Because they came together and she untied her friend and got her up and got her out. The moment she got her friend out of the room, the detective who was supposed to be right behind her isn't there anymore. Is not there anymore. And you can see that they're both in the same place, but they can't see each other because they're now in 2 different dimensions. And the female lead and her best friend tried running out of the school, but like they can't get out of the school because they keep going through the steps and they keep getting put right back on top of the steps and they're going in this loop. And the male lead decides to go to the roof to see what's going on over there, and the female lead and her best friend are just like, oh my gosh, I hear him, because apparently you can hear each other from the dimensions, but you can't see each other in the dimensions. So they decide to go up to the roof too, but once they go up to the roof, the male lead's not there because again, they're still in 2 different dimensions. So now I've lost the plot, okay? I've lost the plot a long time ago. I put posters up and I'm telling people I'll give you a reward of $250 as long as you find the plot for me, but everybody else has lost the plot too, so we're all losing. The moment the male lead gets up to the roof of this building, he ends up getting sucked into another dimension. And in that dimension, y'all, there's a cult of glasses S-line worshippers. That was actually my fault. It was my fault for not expecting that because Korea and their cults, man. I should have known that from the get-go. So I will take partial fault for that one. That one's on me. That one's on me. And the male lead basically gets sucked up there. He's looking around like, what the fuck is this? We both got the same look on our faces because we can't believe this shit is happening. And then boom, that's when we find out that the female lead's best friend also has these glasses and she's also going crazy about these S-lines and seeing S-lines. Cause of course she is. Of course she is. And y'all, with all these plot holes going on in the story, I know I should have more important questions, but the biggest question on my chest at this point is how the fuck are we making these glasses so fast, and how the hell are we distributing them so fast? Because we started off the series with just one. There's definitely more than one now. But boom, the female lead also gets sucked up to this dimension with the cult people. I don't really remember how she got up there, but she got up there, right? I think it was after she broke the glasses that her friend had or some shit like that. And she sees that the homeroom teacher is behind all this and she's got this ominous amount of S-lines coming out of her head. Like, you thought the male leads was bad. Wait until you see this chick's. And like, at first when I was scrolling on TikTok and people were saying that they didn't watch this because like the S-lines made them feel weird and they kind of felt unnerved about the S-lines, I was just like, yo, get the fuck out of my face. What are you talking about? But then when I saw this scene for like a short little moment, I was just like, ugh, that's creepy. Like, it gave me a little itchy feeling all over my body. So I apologize. I take that back. Wait, no, the male lead is the one that sees the chick with all the lines on her head first, and then the female lead goes up there after she cracks the glasses. My bad, y'all. But in the moment that the male lead is up there, before the female lead gets up there, the homeroom teacher basically gives the male lead a choice to like sacrifice his father, who we obviously know did some bad stuff, and join their cult of S-lines. And the male lead decides not to do that and instead tries to stab the homeroom teacher, but he's not able to do that because she's some sort of powerful being and she's over here like, regular humans cannot hurt me or whatever. And the female lead gets sucked up to the little cult place, and then that's when she sees that the male lead is being strangled by his neck by the homeroom teacher. The homeroom teacher sees the female lead and just throws the male lead to the side because he's basically basically like a bug to her. And the female lead is like, what are you doing, girl? Like, chill out. And the female lead is trying to attack the homeroom teacher to get her to stop, because that's when the homeroom teacher reveals that she wants everybody in the world to be able to see S lines. And the female lead is just like, we're not doing none of that. So she tries to go against the homeroom teacher, but she's obviously powerless to the homeroom teacher. But right as the homeroom teacher is about to stab our female lead, the female lead's mother ends up jumping in the way to cover the female lead. And then that's when we find out that the female lead's mother was a part of this cult of glasses, and the reason why she murdered her husband was not because the female lead showed her the S lines, but because she ended up seeing the S lines herself, and she decided to get rid of the trash. So she was basically like, I'm sorry, it wasn't your fault. And then she dies. But her sacrifice was useless because the homeroom teacher basically just swats her to the side and stabs the female lead anyways. Y'all keep up, keep up, keep up. We're almost done. In this moment, the homeroom teacher realizes that the female lead can also see S lines, so she gets super excited. Even though I thought she would have already known that, I guess she didn't know because it didn't seem like she knew. But then all of a sudden she was just like, oh, so that's who you are. And she ends up stabbing the female lead anyways and uses her blood and basically uses the female lead as a catalyst to make everybody in the world see S lines. But afterwards, the female lead gets back up again because again, she can't die. Don't forget that. I know we only talked about it a little bit and it was only used a little bit, but that's still something in the plot. So she didn't die. She gets up and she stabs the homeroom teacher. But the homeroom teacher's like, I don't give a fuck. I did what my purpose was and you've served your purpose, because your entire purpose in your entire life was literally only to be the catalyst to make everybody see S lines. And then the homeroom teacher just like dies on the floor or something. And boom, that's the end of the story. Now everybody can see S lines. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, wait, she must have missed something. That can't be the end of the story. That's the end of the story, y'all. That's the end of the story. They were literally like, it's been a year now since everybody started seeing S lines. At first everybody was confused, but now it's just a part of daily life. And they show like the niece being embarrassed because of how many S lines her uncle has, and now the fact that everybody else can see them and stuff like that. And then like the female lead is like, now I'm finally normal the way I want to be, but I'm still alone. So she's literally still a loner. Like, she got nothing out of that. She goes to the grave of her Pookie, of her fine shit, that she needed that bad, that he had to die for it. He's still dead. I kid y'all not, that's the end of the story. Like, that's it. So now that I basically said all of that, let's talk about how I feel about this story. I will say that I really like how this story kind of used the plot to just kind of send this message of like very serious societal issues and social stigmas that kind of are held against people who are undeserving of them, or like situations where it's just like, it's not that deep, but you guys are making it that deep and you guys aren't seeing the full picture for what it is. I do appreciate that. I do think that the plot was very unique, very cute, very unique. Never really heard that before. I really like that, you know? The story was kind of losing me the more I went in, but like I really did still like it up to episode 4. And then after that, it just really disappointed me. Yeah, this story really disappointed me and I'm very mad about it. The storytelling was all over the place, but I did still feel like it was leading up to something. So the fact that that big old climactic moment was just the fact that like, okay, S lines are a thing now, it just felt very disappointing and lackluster to me, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, I haven't been pretty obvious with how thrown off I was about this story as I was telling the entire thing, but whatever. Because literally every single time they started developing a new plot and a new story and you kind of latched on and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. Every single time they set up a foundation for a plot, they completely destroy the foundation and decide to move to a completely different direction that you weren't expecting for them to go down in the first place. And the worst part is that like, it'd be good if it was unexpected in a good way, but it was always unexpected in a bad way. Like, every single time like I found like a new foundation for the plot, the new plot was always worse than the last, and then the newer plot was worse than the other one, and then the newest plot was worse than the other one. I'm like, how are you guys making this worse every single time? That takes some talent. It's literally like, you look past all the plot holes, you look past all the questions that aren't answered, you look past all the stuff that don't make sense simply for the sake of the plot, just for them to give you a shitty ending anyways. Like, if you're gonna make all these plot holes, you might as well make the ending some sort of grand thing that like can't be explained. But instead you make it so that just everybody sees S lines. And I guess this kind of leads me to my biggest complaint about the drama in general, is just the fact that like the motive for all of this stuff does not make any sense. Like, all the sacrifices that had to be made, all the little behind the scenes that had to go on in order to get to this point, like, instead of it being some sort of bigger, higher thing, it's literally just so that everybody can see S lines. And I feel like there's not enough purpose in S lines for it to be taken as seriously as it was. Like, it made it so that the plot just kind of seemed childish in a sense. like, I don't know if childish is the right word for it, but it's just like, it just seemed very novice to me. And obviously the person who wrote this is not a novice writer. They obviously know what they're doing. How did you mess up that bad? I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, really. There's this whole thing about bullying, but we don't know when the bully started. We don't know why they started bullying the niece. We don't know when they started bullying the niece. Like, we don't know any of that. And then you have this whole idea of the female lead being able to see S lines and that being her biggest thing and biggest, like, characteristic about her, but her being able to see S lines doesn't really change anything in the grand scheme of anything, which I guess is true that the homeroom teacher was saying that, hey, your life was literally only to see S lines, to be the catalyst for everybody to see S lines. I guess she was right in saying that, but like, that just kind of sucks as a plot. Like, this is our lead, this is what her entire purpose was, that's it, and then you're just like, yeah, that's it. And again, if it was for like some bigger thing, like you were the catalyst that we needed in order to make sure that like nobody was ever allowed to cheat on their partners or something, okay, fine. But just to see S lines, like, that's it. And then like, I was also just kind of feeling bad for the female lead because like her life did not get better not one time in this story. Like, her life from the beginning was crappy. Afterwards, when she was living her entire life, it was also crappy. When she finally got out and made more friends, she literally lost her little bootang that she needed so bad, and that was really crappy. Afterwards, you find out that your entire life's purpose was only to make sure everybody could see these S lines you're trying to get rid of. That's also crappy. And then afterwards, you're just by yourself and alone for the rest of your life. That's kind of crappy. Like, who's to say if it's for the rest of her life, but like, they didn't show anything other than that. Anyway, something that I also want to note is that like, this drama talks about S lines and like everybody being able to see S lines, and they put it on this global scale, but it's just like, it's only showing Korea. And it's like, I get the reason why they do this. I understand why, because like, I feel like if you don't do like the whole global scale thing properly, the story just kind of comes out cringy, and I've seen people do it in a bad way before, so I understand why they kind of like hover around the idea instead of actually going in depth with it. But like, you made this seem so serious, but somehow something that was going to change the world globally just so happened to only be shown with effects happening in Korea, only had glasses distributed in Korea. Speaking of it being only in Korea, it also only happened at this specific school, and when you started distributing the glasses, you only distributed it to the people who were associated or around this school, and then afterwards you gave it to all of society, but like, when we saw all of society, we only saw Korea. So that was also just like a right? Like, maybe in the beginning they could have been like, in a world where Korea is the only nation, that would have made more sense. But then I was just kind of laughing because I'm just like, okay, everybody can see S lines, right? Honestly, going into this drama, I thought it was gonna give more of like a girl from nowhere vibe, where it's just like every episode is like different, but it has its own plot, but it's like pushing towards this bigger plot. And then like at the end, like, who knows, maybe we could have kept it open ending. But like, if the writing kind of like followed that whole girl from nowhere type of plot, I think I would have really liked it. But instead I ended up leaving mad because I feel like it was just a big waste of potential of what could have been. Literally, when I saw the ending, I had to look up if somebody died like in the show or something like that, because you know, a lot of times they end up having to like cut shows off short or like completely change the ending because like some critical character ended up like passing away in real life or it being in a really big scandal in real life, so they don't want to show them. So I literally had to go search it up to see if something happened, but nothing happened. Like, everything was smooth sailing with this production. So I was just like, okay, like, you had no obstacles and this is the ending that you came up with? Initially, if the story wrapped up properly, I probably would have given it like an 8.5, which is pretty high for me because I consider like 8 like standard, like your average drama. There's nothing special about it, but it's not bad, and like, I would recommend it, but it's just nothing special. So an 8.5 would be on the better side of dramas for me. But because it ended so badly, no matter how many chances I kept giving it, like, I ended up being like, yeah, nah, you're a 7.5. And the same way an 8.5 is pretty high for me, a 7.5 is pretty low for me because 95% of the dramas that I watch fall in that 8.0 category. So getting below that is just like, I left the drama upset. That's how it feels for me. But anyways, that's it for this video. If you guys like this kind of video where I'm basically like watching a show so you don't have to, like, go ahead and let me know in the comments and I'll do them more often. Obviously with shorter series, because this series was only 6 episodes long and this hour is most likely gonna be longer than an hour. If you guys like this video, go ahead and let me know by hitting the like button. You know, it would really help me because I'm parched, you know, I'm thirsty. I've been talking a lot. And if you guys really like this video, how about you subscribe to my channel so you can watch all my videos? Come on, you know you want to. Anyways, that's it this time. I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. You see this line right over here? Not this one, this one. See this line right over here? That's mine.